You know, by the way, this is not on X because I told you about the thing in it. You have to get the premium pack for streaming on X, so it's
That
a bit
fucking
jarring.
stuff. Yeah.
It's Elon Musk, man. He's cooked the app completely. Just tweeting out the links and then I'll start the pod. All right, ready? Hello and welcome to another episode of Ringside Fracas. I'm your host Naeem, and today I'm joined by Jide. Jide, how are you, bro?
I'm good, brother. How are you, man?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, last couple of weeks of boxing was a bit, it wasn't great. It was okay. We had a couple of decent fights, but now we're kind of getting into the action-packed part of it, where hopefully next week we're going to get the big Bud Madrimov card, and now that whole card itself, the preview and everything, that deserves its own episode. So we'll be here again tomorrow. Look at us, we're putting the work. You know what I mean? We'll be here tomorrow previewing all of those fights, that entire stack card happening in LA. But today, there's a lot to talk about, especially what happened in the past weekend, literally yesterday. Um, the first fight, which I think it was one a lot of us weren't expecting the result to happen. Derek Chisora took on Joe Joyce, and going into the fight, I think most people had Joe Joyce winning this fight. We all kind of said with Derek that he's past his retirement date, that he should be retiring. The CTE is all loaded up and everything. But Derek does the impossible, man. He dropped Joe Joyce and he won a clear decision against him, and he beat him. He beat him rough. Like, he won loads of those rounds. He looked vulnerable in that at times. Chisora looked like he could go out, but he put Joyce on his ass and he won the fight in 2024, which is insane to think about. Because if you said this in 2023, Joe Joyce would lose to Derek Chisora and get dropped at the same time, you wouldn't think of it. I mean, it's so insane to think about. Jide, I know you've got a lot of thoughts about Joe Joyce, because especially with when he was coming up, the whole AJ comparisons. Let me get your thoughts on how you saw that go down and your thoughts on it.
Yeah. Well, firstly, congratulations, Derek Chisora. I did not expect him to win that fight. I expected him to get stopped. He's 41 years old. He should have retired, in my opinion, 3 or 4 fights ago. But the old dog keeps finding a way. So congratulations to him. He fought, and what I like about Dell is he has a lot of the old school like style in him in terms of the way he uses his cross guard. You do not see a cross guard in modern fighters. I love the fact that Dell uses it, and you can see how effective it is in sometimes disguising his shots. And then when he's against the ropes and he's just launching left hooks and right hooks off the ropes, just like using the ropes as a projectile, like as a springboard to get a bit more momentum. And then he's guarding his face and then just launching. It looked, obviously he made it a bit of a hybrid. It's not perfect, but I just like that boxing is a million styles in boxing, and I like the fact that Dell sometimes he shows the certain guards that might have become extinct. So he's one of the last of a dying breed. But yeah, like I said, he's 41. Do not expect much from him. Even in this fight, from the second round, he looked gassed, but he just kept finding a way. So yeah, congratulations to Dell. And then to the other side of the ring, my boy Joe fucking Joyce. Oh my god, the juggernaut. Listen, Joe Joyce is the slowest heavyweight I've ever seen in my life. He's like, Obviously, there's been slower, but you can look at them and say, I expect you to be slow. E.g., the current version of the Marius Wack, which we'll get to. Um, Butterbean, a gimmick fighter in the 2000s. Uh, what's his name? Oh, what's this guy's name? Valuev. That's
Yeah.
it. He was fucking slow as well. I feel like Joy Joyce is in that mode, but the difference between Joy Joyce and them, man, is Joy Joyce should be faster. He's a little bit. It looks athletic. The guy has Nigerian blood in him, and he's moving like that. That is crazy. I've never seen a Nigerian that slow in anything. When you usually jack, but we're usually very quick at doing things. But boy, so the fraud has been exposed. And I remember in 2022, before after he beat Joseph Parker, you had the likes of boxing aficionado, the brains of boxing, Teddy Atlas, saying Joe Joyce runs through the division, he knocks out Anthony Joshua. You had idiots, Tyson Fury fans mainly, saying Joe Joyce is the second best heavyweight in the world, second best heavyweight in the UK. AJ's washed, blah 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 blah. And this wasn't like a hidden or controversial take. This was the mainstream idea. But at the same time, when I watch Joe Joyce, he gets hit too much, has no head movement, slow. He's going to get cracked. He's going to get cracked. And it took Zile Zhang, the first fight, when the first fight happened, Joe Joyce probably thought in the back of his head, I was probably getting to him. It got stopped. I reckon if we do exactly the same thing again, I'll stop him. But what he doesn't realize is guys that can actually box like Zile Zhang, you being that slow and him figuring you out in the first fight, knowing how to stop you, it was always gonna go one way. It was always gonna go one way. And he actually cracked his jaw, he dented his jaw properly. The first fight, I wouldn't say he really that was the one that cracked Joy Joyce. But the second fight, absolutely. This man has lost 3 of his last 4 fights. And his win is against Cash Ali, who's like Southern area level, like he's not even British level. This is the level Joe Joyce is at. This is what Joe Joyce is. I want people to actually understand when they're evaluating fighters and evaluating where certain guys are. You need to look at what's in front of you. Look at the intangibles. Look at the physical profile. Yes, Joe Joyce has got elite stamina. Yes, he can punch hard. Yes, he puts on the pressure. But the guy is just there. This is heavyweight boxing. Again, Teddy Atlas saying he's the modern day George Foreman. How disrespectful. If I was George Foreman, I'll put a cease and desist on Teddy Atlas ever mentioning my name. That's so disrespectful. The guy cannot box. He cannot fight. He's just bigger than you, and he'll just stick it on you and beat you. Joseph Parker is probably embarrassed knowing he lost to that man. Joseph Parker's probably in his house thinking, fuck, how did I lose to this guy? Bro, Joe Joyce is ass, bro. He is so bad. And I've been saying this for years. I'm like, this guy is not good. He doesn't have what it takes. He just doesn't. And now it's been exposed. You have a 41-year-old journeyman. That's what Derek Chisora is right now. Beating, dropping you in a ninth round. That is embarrassing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like it's over, man. It's all she wrote. Although he went to the crowd, you guys still want to see me fight, and they were like, yeah. Listen, Joey Joyce is always going to give you exciting fights, but any world title aspirations, it's over. It's over. Daniel Dubois cracks him in a rematch. I don't see him doing well against the up and coming heavyweights. It's too slow. It's too slow. They're just gonna ping his head off. Can't beat Usyk. Most certainly can't beat AJ. AJ just knocks him out. So how does he get back in the world title consideration? Caballero? He loses. Who can he beat? Who can he beat to put him back? Well, Bacoli. Bacoli beats him, stops him. I don't see anyone in the top 10 that Joe Joyce can beat. Or Dillian White, but I don't really count him as a top 10 fighter. Yeah, it's over for him, man. And I'm not saying I'm glad because again these guys are fighting for their families, but the Joe Joyce myth is exposed. You cannot rely on your chin to win you fights in the heavyweight division. It's not the division for that. So yeah, man, that's me.
All I got to say, Joyce, I'm looking straight at the camera. G4S, ADT, Securitas. Get your CV ready, bro. Email them through. They're hiring. Go to Fabric. Go to XOYO. Go to Taper. Go to Eden. They need bouncers, bro. You're quite big. People aren't going to take you on. Send your CV around there, man. They got you covered, bro. It's. I said because I was live tweeting it, man. I said, if you're losing to Derek Chisora in 2024 and you're getting dropped by Derek Chisora in 2024, boxing license should be revoked immediately. As soon as he stepped out of the ring, the British Commission should have gone in and been give us that license. You ain't fighting again. Yeah. You can't be making Derek Chisora, a 40-year-old man who's been battered his entire career, look good. I was spamming the same overhand shot again and again and again, and he was landing it, and Joyce wasn't moving.
Ismail Salas needs to get investigated for fraud, because what's he done for Joyce?
You see that video where the guy was getting stabbed and he's saying, "Uncle drive, Uncle drive." Yeah, bro, Joyce is the uncle. He's seeing the knives come his way. He ain't moving. Salas is telling him, "Move, slip." He's just sitting there watching it happen. Bro, he's just a stationary target. He ain't moving. He's not doing nothing. He hasn't bothered to do anything with his defense, block the punches, slip. And then the weight issue. Why are you coming in at 280 pounds? Who told you need to be that heavy? Your best weight has always been around 260. Then when he fought Zhang for the first time, he came in around 255. Cool, you trim a bit of weight because you come in, you've trained a bit. Someone got into his head and they probably told him that the only reason he lost was because of the weight. And that's why for the Zhang rematch, he went up to like 288, 290, which, again, makes you much slower. You're already slow as it is. You don't move quick. You ain't, do you know what I mean? He's not a big, he's athletic, like he can do flips and stuff, but in the ring, he can't move as quick. So why would you add on extra weight? You're going to move even slower. Your punches are going to be slower. You're going to be more predictable. You're going to be more hittable. And that's what we saw. And I remember because I was talking to Lewis about this, about predicting. I said, if Joyce comes on weight, he will stop Chisora within 6 to 7 rounds. Because if you watch that fight back, you'll see those moments where Chisora was there to be taken. He was literally using the ropes to keep him up. His legs are half gone. But if I said to Lewis, if he comes heavy, there's going to be a big issue with him trying to win. And I thought he was going to win, but it was going to be one of those sluggish decisions. You look at his fight with Cash Ali, the last fight. That was, again, sluggish decision where he won by knockout right at the last minute, at the last round. But he was slogging his way through because he was slower, more sluggish, punches more lethargic. It doesn't make sense. I don't know what's gone on in that camp since Zhang. And I said it on the account. Zhang ended his career. Zhang completely ended his career, whether it's psychologically or physically or whatever. Joyce always looks the same in every single fight. The difference between after the Zhang fights was he's looked much slower because he's added on weight. So he looks more slower than he normally does. And now he's also older, so he looks more sluggish. So I just don't get what he was doing. And like I said, bro, just become a bouncer. No one will take on a 6'6" guy like him, built the way he does. He'll make money from there. There's no point trying to continue boxing. Like you said, who's the type of guy out there to bring him back up to the top? And can he beat those guys? And is he going to get money for it? It's crazy to think, man, because just deep, this guy had on the table, literally on the table, he had at the start of 2023, before he even announced he was going to fight Zhang, when they were looking at that, he had Fury and AJ as stadium fights, basically, for him that could have happened. And Zhang took all that away. And now look where he's at. I don't know how much money he's made.
Even before the Zhang situation, he had the Usyk fight. Usyk was ready to fight him, but they said no. They wanted to go a different route to make more money. But I don't know how you can be a manager for Usyk and not take the fight, because you thought, like, didn't they analyze Zhang? My thing is, why would you take a riskier fight for less money when you can fight the champion and lose? Because if he lost to Usyk instead of Zhang, he probably doesn't get stopped. And the myth around Joyce still carries on. He probably makes a bit more quid. He's fucked his career, man. Zhang fucked his career.
Yeah. we talked this with Terry, and even he was saying like when they first looked at when Joyce's team first looked at Zhang, they watched the Hergovich fight and they probably thought, oh, this guy's easy, so bring him to the UK, knock him out, and then we can move forward from there.
Yeah,
And it just didn't go the way they want because, like you said, there was definitely no preparation, no kind of idea in terms of is this the right move for us and is this what we should be doing with so much on the line.
yeah,
And it's just he hasn't improved at all. He's been very short, and like I say, for his own health, because he hasn't had that many fights. I think Joe Joyce has had like less than 20 professional fights. Like, yeah, let me just check quickly. I think he's had like less than 20 professional fights, and he's like what, 37. So he's
yeah.
quite
But
old.
he gets hit.
Yeah,
No,
that's what I was gonna say. Is he's had 19 fights now, and he looks like and he fights like he's had a 40-50 fight career, because like
yeah,
you were about to say is that he just takes too many punches even when he wins. Like I remember he had that one comeback fight against Christian Hammer, um because he was out of the ring quite a bit. Christian Hammer's not good, especially at that year. He's not good. He's past it. He was just there for Joyce to knock out. He got the knockout, but on the way to the knockout, Joyce was taking so many punches. And every time when he was doing it, and we were all talking about this in the group chat, every time there was a Joyce fight, even if when there wasn't Zhang before that, we always used to talk about Joyce's fights. We used to say, how the hell is this guy taking this many punches in these type of fights? He should not be taking that type of damage, and yet he still does, and he hasn't changed it. So I mean it in the nicest way. I know the first part was kind of a bit, tongue in cheek, but really retire, man, because he's just going to keep taking damage, and then it's going to get to the point where he's going to end up turning 45 or something, and his facilities won't be about him.
yeah, yeah. I think he's one of those guys where he should probably retire, man. Find something else to do.
Go to a doctor straight away. Go to a head doctor and just be kept under observation for years.
Yeah, I just don't know how your motor functions are so slow that your reactions, it's like the brain signal to the like how it's like his brain sees something happening, sends the signal to move away from the punch, but then it sends this. It's like the human brain normally takes what processes light information like 0.1 or 0.2 seconds or around that. So essentially, our reflexes, our reaction time, is within a certain window where, from what we see versus to what we can to react to the information, it's like his brain is 3 times slower than the average human.
Well, to be fair, remember he used to brag about how he had like 3 times the bone density of the average human.
Yeah, clearly not. I know what's funny. I remember watching a video of Hatman saying that his chin isn't that he's been dropped in the amateurs.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've seen him get dropped heavy. Like I've seen him. when I say someone's got a chin, who obviously now his chin's been dented, is Marius White. Like we're gonna get to him, but someone like him, before all his stoppages were stoppages on the feet. Apart from recently now where he's actually
even the Satama one was more he just gave up rather than
yeah. But that's a chin.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna say. Yeah, he's got some Viking bone density. Like the guy can eat shots. That's what I call a granite chin. But you should not want to aspire to be that. You should not. Like whenever guys talk about how great their chins are, in my head I'm already thinking red flag. This guy's gonna lose soon, because for us to know how good your chin is means you're getting hits. You are getting hit constantly. One of the best boxers of all time, Floyd Mayweather. We didn't know how great his chin was until he got cracked by. He's been cracked before, but it was everyone used to say, "Oh, glass jaw. He's got his chinny." But we didn't really know till the Mosley that he's never been really hit like that, and that's because having a great chin was never his thing. Oh, I can take shots. Ooh. No one gives a fuck about how you can take shots. I want to make sure you don't get hit as much as you're hitting the other guy. That is what that you need to do. That is boxing. So if you're known for your chin, to me, it's a red flag. Carl Froch, another guy, fucking hater. That guy is he's got a great chin. Don't get me wrong, but he's not someone that I'm gonna take. I'll be like, all right, let's watch some Carl Froch tapes. Youngster, come sit with me. Let's watch some Carl Froch tapes. This is who I want you to emulate in the game. No, So if you want CTE, yeah, those are the kind of guys you should look up to. But nah, man, Joyce is cooked. He's completely cooked. Like I don't see what he can, unless he wants to be a Del boy and be a ticket seller, or gatekeeper. Cool, that's what you want to do. But I don't think that's what he wants to do. So yeah,
But even then, I don't think he's been in the game long enough like Derek has and built up the fan base like Derek has over the time. And remember, Derek's fought for world titles, and Joyce hasn't reached that level at all yet. So
yeah,
he just wouldn't make the same amount of money that someone
yeah,
like Derek can. Um, but yeah, what you said about Carl Froch, Andre Ward said it best. When we're talking about great chins, like if you're talking about him saying he has a good chin, all that tells me is he gets punched a lot.
yeah,
That's all that tells me. Like that he's not good. His defense isn't good because you know
yeah,
how good his chin is. 'Cause,
yeah,
um, yeah. I don't know, man. Joyce, just for your own health and safety, man. Just
yeah. Just retire, man. You just retire. Even Derek Chisora, you need to retire.
yeah.
Retire
I
on the
mean,
high. You need
yeah.
to as well.
With him, I feel like you know what? Maybe you could have one more fight, and the only fight I'm thinking of is Dylan White. Because if you
Yeah,
remember, in both fights, he's had the better of Dylan White. It's only in the second one where he got knocked out at the 11th round. But if he made it through those 2 rounds, he would have won. Like he was up
yeah.
in the score.
I also feel like the second fight, he rushed his work and became more like took more risks because of the
Mm,
point deduction. I
yeah,
feel like if the point deduction didn't happen, he probably doesn't get knocked out and he probably wins that fight.
yeah. So I feel like if they did White Chisora 3, that's something that could probably make money because we know Chisora can win fights, and you know White is kind of shot. So there's that aspect of it should be more competitive because they're both a bit more shot and they've got their fan bases, so it wouldn't do that badly.
Mm.
But anyone else, I can't see it. Like honestly, I tell you this right now. I'm gonna go on. I'm gonna go on to him. But Itama beats the crap out of both of these two.
Oh yeah, kills him,
He has fun with both of these two.
kills him. Yeah,
It would it wouldn't be fun to watch.
yeah,
It would not be fun to watch. So like even Derek Chisora, man, choose your next fights carefully. If you are gonna fight, he says he's got 2 more left. Or retire, please, because you've got your money. You've had your final farewell O2 fight. You're retiring on a high, beating Joe Joyce, someone who called you out 6 years ago, and you put him on his ass and you beat him. So retire on a high. Enjoy the fruits of your labor, because I mean, like you're gonna make millions, but then within 5 years, you're not gonna know how to spell your millions. So, yeah, this is kind of like that washed battle. All right, come now, finish. Just let it
yeah,
end. Let's just end from there. Obviously, the good thing on the undercard we had was Moses Italma taking on Marius Wack. This is probably his biggest step up that he's had to date. Marius Wack, obviously, being a former world title challenger, been in with the best. Like I think he's been in Klitschko, White, Miller. He's been in with everyone. Povetkin, I think, as well. He's fought basically everyone there is to beat, and he hasn't been stopped like clean in his career. And if he has been stopped, it's only been a couple times. For Itama, the expectation was he was going to win. I don't think anyone in the crowd or in boxing kind of thought Itama was going to lose this. It was more about how he went about doing it. Looked amazing, man. He looked business. What do you think about Moses?
bro. It's not many times that I wax lyrical about prospects, but for me, he is the best heavyweight prospect since Anthony Joshua. Probably a better prospect than Anthony Joshua, in my opinion. When you look at like technique, I have not seen a heavyweight this quick in my time. So I'm not obviously Tyson was quicker than him. Tyson was 5'10", short arms. He's like a cruiserweight. So Tyson was rapid, but as a heavyweight, because Itama was supposedly 6'5", 6'6", I have not seen a heavyweight with the hand speed and foot speed of Moses Itama. Probably has a lot to do with him being 19 as well. So he still has a lot of useful energy and exuberance, and everything is still sharp. But Jesus Christ, I'm not. Again, it is Marius Wack, and it's not just Marius Wack. I've been watching him, and I've been assessing him and seeing how he's been improving. But he is rapid, like Jesus Christ. Maybe Andy Ruiz when he was a bit lighter in terms of hand speed, but then the difference between him and Ruiz is he has the foot speed. Then there's the technique. It's like you're seeing him look at angles, like putting his foot placements in the right place to deliver his shots, to make sure his shots land. It's like he's not looking down at his feet to make like he's not, you know what I mean? He's not stepping over himself. He's making sure he's in in the zone for his combination, pivots out, but he's pivots out in a way where he's not completely out of Marius Wack's range. So if Wack makes a mistake, he can count off his like again, it happened quickly. I'm not here to be like, we watched 10 rounds of boxing brilliance. But from what I saw, I'm being dead ass that this is for me the best heavyweight prospect I have seen since Anthony Joshua. This is a precocious heavyweight talent. Like he could go all the way. I'm not saying he's going to be the best ever. I'm not saying, but world champion is for me the minimum. Undisputed, I think he can achieve that based on what I see. Like I remember in the chat I was saying who I feel like he will be. I think if Anthony Joshua stays too long in the game, maybe, and it gets to him, the profile, the speed, the shortness of his hands, the reflexes, it will give AJ all sorts of problems. All sorts of problems. The only thing that I don't know about Moses is how can he take a punch? That's the last thing. Like the technique looks good. He's 19. The technique will improve. So I feel like his technical aspects of his game will just keep getting better, and he can just reach another level. But I need to know again. I know we spoke about you don't want to know about your chins and whatnot. However, this is heavyweight boxing. We have seen it a million times. Really, really talented guys. You crack them once, they do the stanky leg. I need to see if if his body has a bit more resistance than the average heavyweight. And if he does, then yeah, I'm all in, man. I'm stock sitting already. They definitely are. Like I said, I have not been this high on a heavyweight prospect since Anthony Joshua. Um, he is very impressive, man. This young man. There's not much more for me to say about him. I'm just excited to watch his career.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think with this fight, it was kind of just to see how he would break down someone that was more experienced, knew how to kind of be crafty and stay in there. Kind of disappointed with Wack's performance. I just think
Yeah,
the resistance was completely gone. That's not the Marius Wack that we've known to fight the
yeah,
top guys and give them a lot of trouble. So there is
yeah,
that kind of caveat to that performance where it did feel like this was a 44-year-old Marius Wack at
yeah,
the end of his career who I think he should retire. I think if your resistance has given up on you like that, your heart's not in it,
yeah,
no point taking any more beatings. You might as well retire. But for Talmas, just do the business. That's a guy who's not been stopped as quick as he's stopped him. Use that to build your profile.
yeah,
And yeah, like you said, his combinations are quite quick. He's got very fast hands, and as he grows along in the division, he's going to become a big problem because he's going to keep adding to his craft. And on the domestic scene, I don't think in terms of skill level he's that far off the top guys. Like if you exclude AJ Dubois Fury, who's next after them? You've got Dillian White. I think he could beat Dillian White.
yeah, yeah. He beats White. Yeah,
You've got Derek Chisora again.
he destroys Fisher. He destroys Fisher.
Yeah, Fisher, Chisora, Joyce, Wardley, Adelaide, Solomon Dakers. Then you've also got Fraser Clark. I think within the next 12 months, he easily clears their level.
Yeah,
But now I think it's the time of being smart and also knowing that the one thing I've always said about Moses Atam, and I said this about Daniel Dubois, is they went pro before going to the senior amateur level. So they're going to get unstuck. They're going to come unstuck at a level and they don't have their experience. Whereas one guy is just technically a bit better than me. What can I do to just bridge that gap? So that's where experience and everything comes into play, where you start to up the level, get them the fights they need to keep developing their craft. Because people forget in Moses, there's two fights Moses had. I think one against Dovbishenko, the other one against Espinola. Journeyman, and again, they weren't there. They weren't there. They were trying to, what's it called? They weren't trying to win. They were trying to make it tough. High guard, everything. They kept everything tight. And Moses did kind of struggle to break them down. He won the rounds easily, but he struggled to get through to them. And for me, the key to Moses developing his craft, and it's good that he's with Ben Davison because he keeps it simple and makes sure that the guys are learning more, is to be able to improve the offense to the point where he's able to open up opponents, break them down, and not have these type of issues. So that's where experience comes into play, and that's where the development comes into play. Yeah. So I think I forgot who's the other Warren son. There's Francis Warren and then George Warren. I think Francis said in an interview just after the fight that they're mandatory for the English title. I'd love to see Itama take on Solomon Dakers. The issue is Itama doesn't bring that much money in yet. He's like, unless you overpay the other people right now, they're not going to fight him because there's not reward.
Yeah.
So, but get him to fight for the English title next. I'd say put him on the AJ Dubois undercard. He barely went to work yesterday. It's not like he's taking any damage. Put him on the AJ undercard, get him that English title fight, and then if he raises the English title at Wembley, again, big for his profile, whoever it is, because what I'd imagine is Dakers would vacate the belt and then he gets to fight someone else for the lift that. And I think whoever you put in there with him, because I don't know who would be next, but whoever it is, you'd probably imagine Itama could put them over within 3 rounds.
Yeah.
And then put him out again on the Better BF Bivol card in October, a month later, because he's 19, he's not got anything else to do. Put him out on that card again. And then December, go again with a bigger opponent, this time a bigger named opponent. Whether it's the British title, whether it's the Commonwealth title, whether you're going for the European title, go for something where it really does establish Itama as a proper level guy. You don't want to jump the gap too quickly, because remember people had that issue with AJ where they're like, oh well, he jumped up to world title level within 15 fights, so we never had that. Give him the time that he needs, but if he shows that he's ready for those levels, then jump it, accelerate, and see what he does.
I feel like with Itama, it's because he wants to break Mike Tyson's record. Yeah. So he's probably wants to rush it. I think they shouldn't rush it. Like you said, he's not done. He's not gone through the amateur. I wish he would done the amateur system. I wish he fought in the amateurs and win an Olympic gold. I wish he did that. But he sacrificed that to get to the point where he wants to be a world champion at like 20 or 21 or wherever he wants to do it. So I like the ambition, but I don't think they should rush it. Like I said, although I'm saying he's a precocious talent, like you said, if he goes to world level now, he loses.
Yeah.
He loses. He 100% loses. Like, again, he's got fast hands, fast feet, but when a guy's keeping you on the end of the jab or is making it hard for you to, you could be quick, but he's got short arms. If you can't get cover the distance and I'm launching straight right hands at your head, you're gonna go down. So I want to see him, like you said, go through the levels: English title, then British or Commonwealth, then European, then world. I want him to go through the traditional path. He probably wouldn't want to do that. His handlers probably ain't gonna want to do that with him. But I feel like that's the right thing to do, because down the line in the next 2 years you can see a Jollolov fight happening, and you can have the Olympic pedigree of Jollolov. Probably won't have the profile, versus Itama, who's going to be the next great British heavyweight, or whoever's still around at the time. Like, hopefully Jared Anderson doesn't lose on the weekend, boy. But he's going to be around. Dubois still going to be around when Itama hits his peak. So we're gonna transition into a very exciting heavyweight period. I'm really excited for it, and Itama for me could be the one.
Yeah, and he's fortunate that he's in such a position where he's 19, so he's very young for a boxer anyway. But for the heavyweight division, he's still a baby, like in terms of age. Like heavyweight division, you can still keep fighting until 37, 38 and still be at top level, because the skill at that point isn't elite, and you don't have to keep physically in the best condition to keep up with heavyweights. And the fact that you've got the elite guys, basically, by the time you come up there, we'll be honest, will probably be retired. They're all 34, 35, 36, 37, like Usyk, Fury, Joshua, Wilder. They're all gone. They'll all be gone by then. So by the time he comes up, it'll be a new division. And there's not that many guys right now out there that are selling themselves as like the next best thing. You've got Jalolov, who hasn't really pushed on with his pro career, understandably, because he's now in Paris looking for his second, I think, gold medal. And then you've got guys like Dubois, who have proven they're the business recently. And we'll see against AJ, even if he loses, if he can show that ability that he's still a big problem for most heavyweights in that fight, he's still there. You've got Joseph Parker, who's relatively still fairly young.
Yeah.
He's taken
you can even see some cruiserweights come up. Like, I feel like we're going to transition into a quote-unquote smaller heavyweight era.
Yeah, it could happen, because there's not that many big guys out there. It's obviously Jalolov 6, 7, whatever, but there's not that many big heavyweights. But we'll have to see, obviously, in terms of, because by the time Itama gets up, I feel like you will see other prospects then, and then
Yeah,
we'll start to see the landscape of how it might change.
yeah,
But he's lucky because I can definitely see him winning a world title, even if it's a vacant one. I can definitely see him win that.
yeah,
But there's loads of stuff he can do now to build himself, to improve his craft, and it's going to be exciting, man, because
yeah,
he's got the spite, he's got the power, um, and he looks locked in. He looks like he just wants to fighting, and keep winning. And that's it. Just that's the attitude you need, especially at this point in your career.
yeah. I completely agree. Completely agree. I'm gonna follow this guy's career with excitement. I was always thinking, what's next after Fury, AJ, Wilder, these guys leave, and we finally got one. For me, it used to be Jared Anderson, but it's like his heart's not in it. So
We'll see. I think this Saturday we're gonna obviously preview it tomorrow, but this Saturday is the kind of this is the make or break for Jared Anderson. If you're going to be that next elite level world heavyweight, this is where you rise the levels.
yeah, facts.
So we'll see. But yeah, if you're someone that's getting into boxing or someone that wants someone new to follow, Moses Tama's that guy. Just
Yeah,
keep an eye out for him, see where he goes, and hopefully there's some interesting things that are going to be unfolding in his career in the next 2 or 3 years, even.
yeah.
So things that aren't interesting that got announced recently was September 14th. Canelo will be taking on Edgar Berlanga. He's been stripped as well of his IBF title, so he's no longer an undisputed super middleweight champion, but he's putting on 3 belts against Edgar Berlanga. What we saying about that, Jide?
Yeah, it's disappointing. Like I said, I'm a Canelo fan. I used to be very critical of Canelo. I used to call him Canelo Ho when he used to duck Triple G shamelessly, and he had the Canelo weight. Instead of going to 160, he was fighting at 158 or was it 156? That
Yeah,
nonsense. Like that shit used to piss me off. And he's basically pulled that stunt again, essentially. Again, I feel like it is Benavidez' team's fault for where we're in this position. You were champion before Canelo. You decided to blow the weight. You're a weight bully, essentially. Couldn't make the weight, and you could have fought
and
Caleb.
also this.
Oh yeah, yeah, and also the nose candy, should we say? Um,
So it's twice he dropped his belt.
yeah, 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 exactly. So it's his fault. It is definitely his fault. Could have fought Caleb Plant before, but they were saying, "Oh, we want to build up the fight because, like, bro." And you ended up fighting him for no title. You made less money than you could have made if you fought him at the time to unify. So there was just a lot of mistakes in David Benavidez' career, but I'm not going to be here to lie. I might like Canelo, but I've got to be fair. If I'm going to be on Tanks, I'm going to be on Canelo. It's poor. This is shameless ducking. And the reason why it's shameless is you wanted to fight Chris Eubank Jr. Like, the guy's not, the guy's not even in your division, number one. Number two is 30, 35, 30, what, 35, 36?
Yeah,
He's not had any fight of consequence in ages. And the only reason you're not fighting him is because he wanted too much money. Like, come on, Canelo, what are we doing here? Yes, Berlanga is your mandatory, quote unquote. Yes, it's supposedly a credible fight. And you know what? If he said, this is what Floyd did at the end of his career. If he said, I'm an old man now, I don't want to take those hard fights anymore, I'm good, drop the belts. Drop the belts. But he's held the division for ransom for the last year and a half because he's not trying to fight guys. I'm glad that IBF stripped him so Billy can get his shot, win the belt. That's one guy now. Now you're saying you're fighting Berlanga. So okay, so if you beat Berlanga, what are you gonna do next? What, you're gonna reunify? What, with Benavidez has left the division now? Now you're feeling eager. You're happy now. Like, it's just, I don't like it. I don't like it. I feel like I'm happy fighters have had the point. They got to the point where they have control over their careers and they can choose the fights they want. I'm glad, but there needs to be balance. You can't do it. You can't be too much like Canelo. You can't have that much power where the sanctioning bodies are scared of you. The sanctioning bodies are scared to do their jobs because you are who you are. Benavidez should have had that fight. If win, lose, or draw, Benavidez should have had that fight. And if he has to move up, he moves up. If it's not Benavidez, Morel should have had that fight. I know Mura wasn't really chasing Canelo; he was chasing Benavidez, but there were names that should have had that fight. And yes, again, I agree. They're weight bullies. These guys are way too big for for the weight class. But it don't matter. They made their weight. It's the same way as you was way too big for welterweight. Then you had to move to like middleweight. Then you became more like a small to decent size like middleweight. Like this is the same sort of vibe. Now these guys are moving up to light heavyweights. They're gonna be normal light heavyweights. I get it. It's the game. Everyone weight bullies to an extent, but you cannot be 33 years old and having the entire division on ropes like this. It's just not good for the sport. It kills. This is what killed the middleweight division. This is what killed almost killed the welterweight division. This is what killed like so many divisions in boxing die because you have one guy who's either too powerful or too many guys who don't want to fight each other. So yeah, man, Canelo. As a fan, I'm disappointed, but to the actual fight now, Berlanga, yeah, it's gonna beat him up. It's just gonna punch him up. I don't see I don't see too much resistance. I feel like Canelo's looking for a knockout. He's not had a knockout in a while, and I feel like Berlanga could be the guy to give it to him. So yeah,
it stinks. It stinks like piss. I mean, with Berlanga, the way he made his kind of name in boxing was he came up with Top Rank, and he had like 16 first round finishes, and like there were Top Rank really sold on him because like wow, even though the guys weren't great, obviously getting 16 first round finishes is a great stat to have.
Yeah.
But then they kind of made the matchmaking harder, as you have to. With Demond Nicholson, struggled, got by, won a decision, 8 rounds, struggled with him. Then they put him on the Fury Wilder 3, I think it was 3 undercard with Marcelo Esteban Caceres. Got absolutely destroyed in that fight. He lost, and they had to rob Caceres. He got dropped. He lost most of the rounds, and Caceres should have got the W, but they didn't give it to him. And after that point, I think Top Rank kind of gave him a bit of rope, but that rope was kind of shortening. Like, you got to put in a performance now because your last 2 wasn't good. You almost lost your last one. Then his fight with Steve Rolls and Angulo, not good. I was like watching the highlights, not good. He couldn't separate himself from them. He was struggling to get by, and these are guys that are on the other side of the career, way on the other end of the career. They're not what the challenges that they used to be before, and he was struggling with them. And then Top Rank barely do this, especially with guys that they know that they're kind of set that these people could become stars. They cut him. They did not care. He was 22-0, 20-0, whatever. They cut him. They're like, no. He's not going to do anything. He's going to get found out by a lesser level. Eddie Hearn picked him up, and all Eddie did was promise him the Canelo fight, and he's maneuvered it perfectly. He's got him that Canelo fight. He's going to get blasted out by Canelo, but he's going to make millions while doing so. Yeah. And then if he does choose to come back, he'll probably have a high-level fight against someone like Diego Pacheco or someone else, whoever, Jaime Munguia, lose, and then everyone will start to realize that Berlanga is never ever going to be near the level needed to fight anyone in the top 5, top 10. So I credit Eddie Hearn because he promised him the Canelo fight, and he got him the Canelo fight. Like, he managed to do it. But Canelo, like you said, Canelo is just poor. Like, his last 5 fights, Berlanga now, Munguia, Ryder, Mel Charlo, sorry, and then Triple G, 3. So that is as poor as it gets. The guys that aren't super middleweights, only 2 super middleweights there, Munguia and Ryder. And Munguia, I gotta give him credit. That's a decent one.
Yeah.
But Ryder, not that great. But again, he's the mandatory. What can you do? You got to fight him. Fair enough. But other than that, everything else was just cherry picking. And PBC, when they signed Jermell Charlo, when they signed Canelo, I thought, oh, there's a chance we're going to get Benavidez. There's a chance we're going to get these big fights to happen. Maybe Andrade, if they wanted to do that as well. But there was going to be a bit more competition in Canelo. He's robbed them. He's robbed the absolute bank from them. Just deep that the deal that they've had. He's put in Jermell Charlo, Munguia, and Berlanga now. And 2 of them were cross promotions. The Berlanga and Munguia one with the Golden Boy, and obviously now Matchroom. PBC have been robbed, and they have no choice because Canelo's the face of boxing, so they have to keep him because they need those pay-per-view events because they're struggling with non-pay-per-view events as well. So it's poor. It's piss poor. But Canelo's on that end of his career now. He doesn't care. He's just there for the money. He'll
Yeah.
fight Eubank eventually. He'll definitely fight Eubank. He'll probably fight Jamal Charlo, the other brother.
Yeah.
And then if there's any other fight out there for him, he'll whoever it is, as long as they're not that great, he's done. Because before Bivol, he thought he was invincible.
Yeah.
Genuinely, he thought he could fight Usyk. He thought he could fight um, uh, what's Okabu. That's it. He thought he could take all these guys on at different weights and knock them all out. And then when he when he lost to Bivol, he just lost completely all belief that he was the pound for pound number one, the king that could take anyone on. And it's shown in the choice of fighters that he's had. I was impressed that he took on Munguia and the way he dispatched of him. It was a proper elite level guy versus a world class guy, and you saw the difference between them. But Canelo just doesn't have that faith in him to go against Benavidez. And I feel like a very good Canelo against a very good Benavidez, Canelo beats him.
Yeah, I agree.
Finds the holes and just and wins, whether it's a decision or knocks him out, wins.
Yeah.
But he's not there in his.
He doesn't have the belief anymore.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe he's seeing something inspiring that he's getting hit and he's struggling against guys and he's thinking, you know what, I just don't have it anymore. But you're completely right. After the Bivol, it's sucked the belief out of it. And he's just here to make money now. Like I said, he's in that Floyd Mayweather zone where it's like, fuck the fans, fuck the sport. I'm just going to make as much money as I can.
Basically, yeah. Al Cuerpo Boxing says Ryder beat Jacobs, and many said the first to dethrone Callum Smith. I don't like the narrative of Canelo's European tour since Americans claim Brits are just Europeans, or rather derogatory. Well, Ryder's a decent win, but in the whole of it, if you add in the fact that he fought Triple G beforehand, and then you add in the fact he fought Jamel Charlo afterhand, and then he's now fighting Berlanga, in total, that last 5 opponents have not been good. Like it's really poor. Like,
yeah, I'm not that guy to be like, oh, he went on a European tour. I feel like that's very dishonest by Americans, especially when Europeans are currently dominating those weight classes anyways. But before being real, Canelo has given us anything since Bivol. In terms of like elites, like right up there, top shelf competition. Munguia's a great win. I like me. But you should have fought Benavidez.
Yeah,
like that fight should have happened. It should never have been a situation where this like we're basically debating who he should fight. It should have been knock Benavidez off and then do what you're doing now. Like let's say he took out David and then he took like 3 easy fights. People wouldn't complain as much.
Yeah,
because he's taken out the guy that everyone sees as a threat. The whole point of boxing, new stars get created when a old star gets knocked off by a young lion. That's just how the sport works. You cannot have that if guys aren't fighting each other. And again, I'm a big Terence Crawford fan. I love the guy. Like, pause. I think he's my favorite. He's my favorite welterweight that I could say I've seen and I've watched. Like, he's one of my favorite fighters ever. But I don't like how he's chasing Canelo and he's not trying to entertain Boots. That rubs me the wrong way. And I feel like he beats Boots. But again, the only way you can make Boots a star easily is if Boots beats the number 1 pound for pound king. But again, Bud is also, he's a dog, yes, but he's looking at Canelo like, this guy is 5'8". Yes, he's a super middleweight, but I reckon I can keep up. And then if I beat him, I get maximum credit, maximum money. But if I lose to Boots, I get good money, but the idea of the Terence Crawford myth, not myth, but it just goes. You know what I'm saying? So, and I feel like fighters get to this stage in their career. Canelo got there, Spence got there, Bud is getting there, and they just decide they want to protect the brand more than give fight fans what we want. So it's disappointing. I wish Canelo fought Benavidez because I've always said, I said in the chat as well, I feel like it beats him because Benavidez is just, if it was a million shots, Canelo will catch him with something in between those shots and he will go down. But yeah, man, we'll see what happens next. with Canelo. He beats Berlanga. If he fights in Billy next, I will not be as critical because I feel that guy's a threat. I still feel
Mm.
Canelo should beat him, but again, he's someone that is completely heralded, someone that Canelo would usually not fight. And if he takes him on, then fair enough in it. But yeah, I'm really disappointed with this Berlanga fight. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, and Al Cuerpo Boxing says Benavidez and Canelo on the same team PBC. Hearn and Turkey have an underground grudge against Al Heyman. Turkey does not want a PBC main event. It needs to be exclusive Riyadh season first. Well, firstly, that Riyadh season doesn't involve Canelo at the moment because Canelo's next fight against Berlanga is a PBC and the Zone main event. Riyadh season is not involved with that at all. On the same date, Riyadh season are involved with the UFC. So right now, Turkey's not involved with anything that Canelo does. He's sent offers because he wants to do Canelo Crawford, but he's not involved with Canelo right now as of yet. And secondly, with the whole PBC stuff is Turkey's loaned so many PBC fighters right now for this week's card. He doesn't have an issue with Al Heyman or something. There's no issues there with him or whatever.
Yeah,
There's no, in terms of the politics, and you're right, politics in boxing is trifling. Benavidez and Canelo is easy to make in terms of the network because they're both on the same team, like you said. They don't have any issues, and there's no other external factors. It's literally the fact that Canelo does not want to fight him, and he's
yeah,
not going to entertain the fact that he wants to fight him. So they're not going to entertain it. And PBC do not want to lose Canelo. That's their biggest star right now. So they're not going to force him to fight Benavidez. They're just going to say, cool, we'll do this Berlanga fight. Okay, if the Boots fight is next, we'll do whatever, or not Boots, sorry, Crawford, or if it's Eubank, whoever, they'll do it. But they're not going to try to lose Canelo. The factor here, the reason why the Benavidez Canelo fight is not happening is not any promoter, no one else. There's only one guy, and his name is Canelo.
yeah,
If Canelo wants a fight, he'll get it. If he wants Usyk, I tell you right now, if he said right now to PBC, whoever, if he said, I want Usyk, he will get Usyk.
yeah,
Nothing would stop him from getting Usyk. He would get what the fights that he wants. If he wanted Tank, they'd give him Tank. They'd somehow find a way to make it. So there's if Canelo wanted Benavidez, this would happen. But this fight's not happening because he does not want to take that fight. It doesn't discredit his whole career. We don't say, oh, this is fraud. It's just right now, at this point of his career, he does not want to fight Benavidez. A duck is a duck. We have to call it as it is. You can still be a fan, because
yeah,
still watch his fights, it's fine.
yeah.
But they're not they're not actively stopping this fight. It's Canelo. And he says, I saw interviews of Hearn and a rare one tech literally, and he didn't like BBC. Why do you think Crawford and Ward just recently did this to Al Heyman? But they
Listen,
can't stop the fight.
I'm as anti PBC as it comes. I do not like the PBC business. I do not like what everything. But you need to understand, Canelo does what he wants. Again, the reason why I keep likening him to Floyd, he's that powerful. He is the face of boxing. He is the most powerful man in the sport. He has a country behind him. Canelo fights who he wants. He does what he wants. There's no one that, like, bro, remember, he was negotiating with PBC and the Zone. And because Eddie Hearn made a tweet about his trainer, he said, fuck the Zone, fuck everyone, I'm going PBC. Remember, he was going to leave PBC, but everyone's on their knees for Canelo, bro. Like, he has the power. So it doesn't matter about the interviews with Turkey Hearn or all of that don't matter. Money talks, and Canelo is the money man of the division. So it's him that is stopping these fights happening. Canelo is still, in my opinion, the greatest Mexican fighter of all time. Canelo is still, in my opinion, one of the greatest fighters ever, easily. He's done too much in his career for me to now say, oh, because of this Benavidez situation, he's nothing. He's not Tank. So, however, you have to call a spade a spade. I used to be very critical of Canelo. Then he proved me wrong when he went through that gauntlet of a run from GGG1 to the super middleweight. When he became undisputed at super middleweight, like the fighters he was fighting during that period, boy, top shelf. That was the Canelo. I'm like, yeah, I'm a fan of this guy. But then it's like he's regressed back to his old ways, and you can't blame other people for that when he has all the power. So
Says Team Benavidez are on Canelo's side as they're advised by PBC to acknowledge the 150 million, including Samson Lekowitz. This is because Al Heyman wants the AJ and Fury paydays for Canelo Benavidez. Look, like we said, if when these type of fights come around and there are big fights, and Canelo Benavidez, honestly, it can make 100 million plus. It can. It's that big. Benavidez isn't a huge name, but he's well known in the Mexican sphere, and everyone wants to see him fight. And everyone knows Canelo, and they kind of want to see the next big thing for Canelo. Whenever you have a big fighter, it doesn't matter the name on the other side. If they know that other person is a proper test, loads of people will start to tune in. It's like, for example, when Floyd was around, right, and Amir Khan was the crap, like he was the shit. He was walking around. Everyone in terms of business knew that if you did Floyd versus Amir at the time, when Amir was at his peak, it would have been one of the biggest fights in the world at the time. Easily 2 million pay-per-views. Floyd would have walked away with at least 100 million plus, whatever. Floyd never entertained it. And if Floyd wanted it, it would have happened. Amir wanted it, but Amir didn't have the power to make it happen. It was Floyd. Floyd never wanted it. Not because, look, Amir Khan fan, no, but Floyd would have cooked him 100%. Had a few issues and then cooked him. But he just did not want to entertain that at all. So these top big fighters have their power and they can make the fights that they want to make. They don't want it to happen because of whether, like I said, in this situation, Canelo just doesn't want to fight him at this point, and he's happy to call a sunset on his career the way it is right now. So.
Yeah, and I feel that's an ego thing as well. Like, it feels disrespected by Team Benavidez, so it doesn't want to give them the time of day. So
you'd be surprised how many fighters will turn down millions just because of ego.
Yeah.
Like you'd be so surprised how many fighters turn down things that normal people would be like, yeah, let's do this. They'll turn it down just because of our ego. Like, I don't want that guy making money, so cool. I'll make money anyway. I don't want him making money. I don't want him making money off my name, so we ain't doing this. Yeah, man, it's a sad state of affairs because boxing deserves better than this. But let's see, because this is proper, the sad part of boxing. Well, not the sad part, the disappointing part of boxing. But the good thing is, and tomorrow we're going to be back to preview it, we have the entire Bud Madrimov card to preview. We're going to go through all of it. Bud versus Madrimov. Then we're going to go through Isaac Cruz Valenzuela. Then Andy Ruiz Miller. That's a good fight. Then we've got Bacole and Anderson. Then you've also got Andy Cruz making his return. You've got David Morrell making his first fight at 175, which is quite interesting because Benavidez just had his first fight at 175. So we'll be able to talk about that. So there's loads to look at, loads to tune into. So make sure you're back here tomorrow. We're going to be tuning in and making sure that we're going to be previewing every single fight. So give us your thoughts, your questions then. And you can also follow us on Twitter at ringside_fracas or follow us on Instagram at ringside fracas. If you're watching on YouTube, please click subscribe, like, comment, share the video with someone that you know loves this as well and is as interested in boxing as us. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please give us 5 stars. And we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
See you. Peace out.